shit and hit home, I think to myself, like, a lot of things are funny in the rooms, you know, like gratitude meetings. Like, people will share about what they're grateful for. And, like, if I just share honestly, that's enough. I don't even got to say gratitude. I can just share honestly. Tell you, I don't know what to do with this situation, but I'm not going to give up and I'm going to keep coming back. You know, like, some simple shit. Like, we don't realize how far we go with some of the stuff just being honest or even just trying. I'm not in the back of a cop car. You know, like, I'm not in the back. I'm not a catching chain. I'm not in the back of a, you know, like an ambulance being resuscitated. I'm not in the hospital refusing medication that they want to give me because they say if you do this, you won't be using this. And I'll be like, well, I don't want to use it then. You know, people aren't looking at me crying with tears in their eyes, and I'm like smiling. You know, people aren't telling me to get help. People are asking me for help, and you know, like I said, the disease of addiction comes at me to where it's like the bad. I'm looking at the bad of the good and the good of the bad. You know, like it's real simple stuff. But I need y'all to drill it in my head all the time. You know, I got friends who make meetings regularly, and I make meetings regularly. Last couple of weeks, I've been going out of town, making meetings in like Austin, and around Arlington, and I was in a meeting. I mean, it's real important. To see how important it is about the people who are just coming in. This guy came into the meeting in Miracles and Solutions in Austin, and you know, like he was shaking and and I was the only other light complected person there, and there was people yelling and you know, like the chairperson, I couldn't understand a word that was coming out of his mouth. And I leaned over to this guy because and we have a pamphlet and it says we need to remember the fear and apprehension of our first meeting, like you know, like being scared or feeling uneasy from our first meeting. And my sponsor would say shit to me like in the meetings. You know, we've heard him say stuff about some of the people who stood out the most to him were the people who were just being his friend, being nice. You know, and so like that's one thing I really believe in. And I leaned over to this young man, first meeting, don't know if he was clean, shaking like a motherfucker, and I was like, "What that motherfucker say?" Like, and he laughed, and that was I did my job, because my first meeting that I went to, I remember one person that was there, and there was lots of people there. I don't remember anything about that meeting except that one man who was there, and he probably had like 16 years clean, and now he's got like 20 years clean. So it's I don't know. I was just thinking about that, and I also know it's hard to ask for help, and sometimes it's a privilege to answer for a cry for help. And there's nothing shameful in being an addict, especially when we remember that like there's only people that me and you can help. There's only people that we can help. There's only people that I can help. There's only people that can get help from us and nowhere else. You know? How much time do I got?
About 10 minutes. Oh, hell, don't worry about that. We've been waiting 2 weeks to hear this.
You're silly. There was a guy in an H&I meeting that I went to. I go to an adolescent rehab every Tuesday. I've been doing it for the last 3.5 years. And James kind of introduced me. Prentice and a couple other people introduced me before that. I don't really remember their names. I don't see them at meetings no more. I know one of them, you know, like I remember Prentice because he comes back to meetings, you know. That sounded really slowed and it comes back to meetings. But I've been going out there, and this one young man, he said something, and you know, like it's really, I mean, I can see that shit, you know, whether we know it or not when we're asking for help, like I don't know. Sometimes that's me asking for help. I don't know. And this young man said, and I'm real big on not calling people kids in the groups. If they're 13, who's to say if they're gonna die when they get high again? So it's like, you're so lucky, you got it this young, you're so, they're just as subject to die if they get high just as I am, or you. So there's not really much of a difference between in age. This thing has nothing to do with circumstances or external factors. Where we come from, what we did, that's that type of shit. This young man said, I don't know if it's a he said I don't know if it's a reservation, but I can use this one thing and be all right, use this one thing and be all right, but when I use this it's after being around a while, it's kind of a responsibility to light people up, but we become more compassionate about it. I said you can use that. Do you think you can use that now? Do you think you can use just that alone right now and not pick anything else up? Okay. And I told him, I said, I'm so glad that you trust us enough to be open about some reservations that you have, because you don't, whether you know it or not, like whether I know it or not, when I'm saying I don't know, I'm asking for help. Like it takes a lot of courage to say shit like that. What's wrong, Hillie? I don't know. I'm gonna let somebody in when I do shit like that. Because I can say stuff like fine or okay, but I got this big movie theater playing exactly what I need to be talking about. And it's like, I'm fine. Sweating like a motherfucker. I'm fine. Y'all are funny. Yeah. I think the literature is really important. Like I said, I ran to it when I didn't know where else to go. My sponsor would always tell me, that all the answers are in the literature, all the solutions are in the literature, but he wouldn't tell me to read none of them. He wouldn't tell me to do nothing. Like there was a couple of times I remember walking in a meeting, and and he's like teaching me about traditions through his actions. He don't tell me shit. I passed a basket and I walked in front of this guy who was sharing, and he said something about why the fuck, how the fuck do you think he feels? And I was like, well, what are you talking about? And he said, how the fuck you think he feels? He's pouring his heart out and you walked right in front of him, And I walked away thinking, that son of a bitch. and I don't get up no matter what in the meetings. If I say that now, but there's probably going to be something that drags my ass up out of here, because with the disease of addiction, I've learned that it gets me into impossible situations. So by me saying stuff like never or I ain't, I need to be careful about saying that shit. That's just how this thing works. I hear people talking in the meetings who have like over 20 years clean saying shit about everything I said I wouldn't do clean, I've had to end up doing. And I'll be like, whatever, And it's like I've done things clean that I probably never would have imagined myself doing. Like awful things. And I've also been obsessed and diseased up in other areas of my life. When we put dope down, we might see that the disease has manifested in another area of our life we never had a problem with before we got clean. Like when I got clean, I was sleeping with a lot of... 4 or 5 is a lot to me. Because whenever I got here, I'd only been with a couple of girls, and I would rather get high than have sex. I would rather get high than live. That's another thing I believe in, is like we used like life wasn't an option, and that's something common.